If you're building your ABA company and you're tired of guessing, this is for you. We built the EBCBA blueprint to give you real structure, systems, and support without the fluff. Details are in the description.
All right, so I've got France and Alyssa from ABA Con. We're going to be talking about a really cool conference that I didn't even know existed or was even a concept until I met with France about. You can get CEUs, it's on a cruise ship, and it sounds really cool. From what I understand, ABA Con blends CEUs with rest, renewal, and real connection. We want to talk about why CEUs at sea, behind the scenes insights from ABA Con, and how to get involved in ABA Con. So if you're one of the vendors that supports ABA services, there are ways that you can get involved too. Yeah, this is a really unique reset. It sounds pretty relaxing, but also getting some work done, getting some CEUs. So tell me a little bit more about ABA Con.
Yeah, Josh. So first of all, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. Yeah, ABA Con is exactly what it sounds like, an ABA conference. And this is our inaugural launch. And we are sailing on Wonder of the Seas with Royal Caribbean. It's February 16th to the 20th. You get 14 CEUs. You get to stop at Coco Key, Royal's private island, where they have water slides, adults only area, pool beach, which we have a little special something there as well that we're offering. There's the all family part of the island, tons to do, water park, and
Swimming with the pigs.
Swimming with the pigs. Yeah. Which brings us to our next stop, which is the Bahamas, where you can also do the swimming with the pigs, and you can go to the Atlantis, and you can do any kind of tours you'd like to do. And then the third day is the sea day, where we will be doing the majority of the conference. So there'll be a panel on the very first night, and there will be one morning where you can get some CEUs in. You can get up to 14. And then the sea day is really the bulk of the CEUs, where we have all of our speakers. And the idea behind ABA Con was really trying to address BCBA, RBT burnout, agency burnout. What do we do? We're taking care of all these families. We're taking care of colleagues, maybe helping school district employees. And we very so often overlook our own needs, always saying, oh, I can't take a vacation. I have so many sessions, or I have to do this and that. And oh, I need to get my CEUs done. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I wait till the very last minute and I'm like, how can I get this so quickly done online? And we have so much to do, and we're just putting ourselves on the back burner. And the idea was, you didn't need to get your CEUs anyways, and you probably really need a vacation. And you probably need to step outside the box and network with some new people and get some fresh perspectives and go home and be excited about something new that you learned, but also feeling refreshed. So that was the idea. Connect, refresh, earn your CEUs, have a great time doing it, and finally say, you know what? I took a vacation this year. Yeah, it was a little bit of work, but I got to vacation this year, and I got to tend to myself. And so that's how the concept started. And then Alyssa came on board, and she just took ABA Con to an amazing level. And she'll tell you a little bit about the speakers that we've booked and that we are so grateful to have. So in a nutshell, that's what ABA Con is. And our plan is to do this sea-based, so cruises, as well as land-based. We know there's some people out there that aren't super excited about being on a ship. That's okay. It's not for everybody. So we will have land options as well. So twice a year. Ultimately, we would love to see everybody signing up, joining up, and eventually chartering an entire cruise for an ABA community. How cool would that be? Bunch of ABA people on one entire cruise ship. That's ABA Con in a nutshell.
Before we get into that, I'd like to know, France and Alyssa, what is your background? And you talk about burnout, and I hear burnout a lot in this space. Burnout is a huge issue. People in the ABA space get into it because they want to help people, but then they get burnt out, and then that's less people that we have. Staff turnover is a huge issue, and I'm sure burnout plays into that. I guess I'm just curious, France, what is your background? The same thing with Alyssa.
So my background is I started in 1997. Did from UCLA. I was a behavior therapist and I moved up the ranks. I became a supervisor. I got my master's. I sat for the exam, became a licensed BCBA. I worked both in the home settings and over the last decade, I primarily worked in the school settings. My entire career has been ABA in the capacity of helping children or training staff who are also helping children, mostly autism and special needs, trying to build capacity in school districts that have limited resources, making sure, and Alyssa will share probably similar, making sure that staff and paraprofessionals feel that they're empowered and have the ABA tools and techniques for many of the classrooms that have our kiddos in it. I personally, for me, probably every 8 to 10 years, I experienced a burnout where the first one was I left the home setting. The second one was I actually left the home setting and became a ski instructor for a while because I was like, nope, can't do this anymore. And then the school setting and then found another school setting. And what I find is, at least for me, I was in a very small rural area. I didn't have as much of a network and support to reach out to revive me and get me back aligned. I'm just giving my all and giving my all. And we need that positive reinforcement as well in our careers. And we don't always get that. It's like, hey, come here, come, help me, schedule this, do this, do this, do this. And then it's like, oh yeah, that was great. Thanks. Like kind of like blown off until the end there's another big problem. So that's how I've experienced burnout. My last burnout was actually quite recently where I just kind of walked away not knowing whether I wanted to be in the field anymore and just started focusing on travel and accessible travel for families with autism. They deserve to have experiences too and to travel around. And then I started reflecting on like, am I really leaving a field that I've just given 28 years to because I'm burnt out? Am I really shutting it completely off? And I started thinking about CEUs and taking my career to a new level. Like, how can I become a CEU provider? How can I share education about accessible travel for families? What can they do? How can I share this with our community to let them know, okay, let's start generalizing all these skills and have these families go also who are experiencing burnout. Also, how do we let them go and just refresh and rest and relax and feel better after a week's vacation? Right. So that's my burnout experience and how I came to this. And I'm actually excited again. Like, I'm excited to be in the field, back in the field in a different capacity, because we also just think all we do is DTT, ABA, trainings, and ABA is applied, but you know what I mean? Like, we're just doing therapy sessions or just school support. And I see a whole new road in my ABA career now. So this is very exciting for me. So that's my experience. And then I think I'd like to circle back, but I'd like to give Alyssa a chance to talk about positive reinforcement and how ABA Con also really welcomes that and wants to get the message out for agencies about how ABA Con can become a positive reward for staff that maybe will help prevent burnout with staff.
Next, I want to hear Alyssa's background as well. But, one of the reasons that we started the foundation course that we have that we've unofficially called the MBA for ABA is because every business owner has different goals. Some want to open up their third, fourth, fifth location. Some just want to take a vacation. And we see that, like, whatever your goals are, if you're being tied down to the daily grind, and if you walked away from your business for a couple of days and it all catches on fire and burns to the ground, that's because your business just isn't built on the right foundation. And that's why we created that whole foundation course. So whether your goal is to be able to take a vacation like you're talking about, or you want to scale your business so you can help more people, it all comes down to the same thing. If you're getting burnt out in the process, like, you're never going to get there. And that's why I really wanted to do this, because I really felt like our missions were aligned just from different angles. So Alyssa, what's your background and how did you get to being involved in ABA Con?
Sure. My start with ABA goes back after I graduated high school. I was a horrible high school student. So I decided to take some time off and give universities, I was going to spare them me, I guess. So I decided to stay home and to work. And I got a job at a school as a paraprofessional and didn't really know a whole lot about autism or individuals with disabilities, as far as, what you might encounter in a school setting. But I ended up being paired with individuals with autism, with profound autism, nonverbal, pretty severe problem behavior, aggression, self-injury, things of that nature. But I fell in love with these kids. And I also got to meet my mentor, a man who at the time wasn't a behavior analyst yet, because that was such a rare thing that it wasn't really widespread and known about at the time. And I'm like aging myself here, but his name was John Moran, and we called him John Moran, the Magic Man, because, even though he didn't have that credential after his last name yet, he was practicing the science, and he would come in and make these recommendations or model things and show us different ways of achieving the outcomes that we wanted with children in much better, effective ways. And I just remember being like, I have to do what that guy's doing. Like, I absolutely have to do this. So after 3 years or so of working in schools, I went to college to get my degree. I got my special ed teaching degree and my master's. And I started teaching as a special educator and discovered very quickly how much I hated it. I did not want to do the politics, the paperwork, the WPNs, and all of the things. I was like, wow, I can't believe I just did all this, and it was the wrong fit. But in keeping in touch with John, he said, hey, I think you really need to go down this ABA path. And there's this thing called a board certified behavior analyst. Hey, check it out. So he connected me with my mentor. We started a relationship. She started mentoring me. I started working under her supervision for a couple cases in a school that she was working at. And we just really hit it off. And one thing turned to the next, and she and John Moran decided to merge their companies and create one large company. And so I was their first employee. And from there, I was with that company for 14 plus years. And I think that when we're talking about burnout, which is so pervasive and such a huge problem in our field, and it's so unfortunate and sad because it doesn't just impact the providers, but we know that the turnover rate and inconsistency in services greatly affects our clients as well. And so it's really something that we have to wrap our hands around. We have to wrap our arms around this and figure it out, right? But I think the reason why maybe it didn't hit me the same way maybe it hit France was because as I was helping them and this company was growing, my position changed multiple times. They were allowing me to reinvent myself and my job description and my role in the company. And so I think I'm reinforced by change, like very frequent change. And I think that helped to prevent some of the burnout. And I think just school consultation by its very nature, you can bounce from school to school. And so you're not sitting in an office somewhere, kind of getting bored, working with the same people in the same location. So I found the variety of all of that helpful. But I did hit a point in my career finally where I didn't really see anywhere else to go or to grow. And that's when I made the decision to go out on my own and start my own company. In the last couple of years of doing that, I've fallen in love with networking and getting to know behavior analysts all over the place. I've always loved public speaking. That's always been a huge passion of mine. And when I was working in that previous company, I did a lot of training with our behavior analysts to perfect or improve on their public speaking skills. Because any opportunity that you have to speak with anybody about our science is really like a front of the room opportunity in a way when you think about it, right? Even if it's a one-on-one conversation, even if it's in an IEP meeting, if someone's asking you about our science, it's an opportunity to help people understand really what we're about. And that ABA has come a really long way from the days of some of the not as good and unfortunate therapy that I think we get a bad rap for. So very passionate about the opportunity to continue to disseminate the science and what we're really very passionate about in the awesome direction that the science is going in. So with that said, I've never been a social media girl, and running your own company, you have to become that, right? You have to learn how to branch out and get out there. So I started paying more attention. And one day I saw France had posted something like, hey, if you were to do a conference, how much do you have to pay those speakers? And how does this all work? And I was like, what is she asking about? France and I ended up pinging some messages back and forth. And at the end of the day, we got on a call. And I think originally France was like, hey, I think I want to do this and I want to offer like 2 Cs. And I was like, no, I think we need to do more. And France and I have kind of like leveled this thing up piece by piece. What if we offer 6 on maybe, what if we push to 8? And here we are now at 14 Cs. So that's been really fun. We've had a great time planning that and figuring out the agenda and the schedule and where we can fit all of this learning in, while also making sure that we don't intrude on people's opportunity to really let their hair down and have fun and network. As Franz was saying, I think the networking piece is part of, or a large part of why we're so excited about this, is not just rest and relaxation and having fun, but when you get to connect with other behavior analysts in the field who are applying in different ways or doing different things and working with different clientele, it really can reinvigorate you. And just knowing that there's others out there who want to share and talk and aren't going to ask to charge you something for that. I think we have an ethical obligation, right, to support each other and to really make sure that we continually level our field up and our practice, right? So that's part of this event as well, is really going to be connecting people from all over the country and Canada. Shout out to Canada friends. So with that said, we have a really cool speaker line that I'd love to share.
I think that gives us pretty good context. You brought up a couple of things that, the first time I did public speaking. So it's really important to exercise that. I'll never forget the first time I did it. I was a sophomore in high school. I took a public speaking class and I get up in front of the podium and I'm shaking and I'm sweating profusely and I can't speak. And so it took me till my 4th or 5th one where it was like no problem. So for anybody who's nervous about public speaking or anything like that, it gets better. Even when I first did one of these live streams, I was super nervous, I didn't know, but I've done a few of them now. I kind of took over this stuff, but the first time I did it, it was really nerve wracking, but now it's no problem. I actually enjoy doing these. And then the other thing that is really interesting, that you're kind of putting this together as you go and it keeps changing. That's been our whole journey with this whole ABA Impact, ABA Business Challenges Facebook group thing. So it's nice to know that we're not the only ones that feel that way, but I feel like we've built something pretty amazing kind of on accident. And we've just been kind of winging it as we go and making it better and better. I read an article about Steve Jobs, and one of the reasons why he was so successful was because of his ability to change his mind. One day he would come in and think that what they were working on was garbage. And then the next day he'd be like, you know what, actually, let's explore that. So his ability to change his mind was one of the reasons why you're so innovative and successful. So I think that treating every day like a startup, no matter what business you're in, looking at ways to improve it is what helps you become successful. So yeah, I really want to learn about the lineup and learn about what's actually going to be happening at ABACon.
Awesome. Yeah, it really has been an iterative process. And I think to your point, if you're really passionate about something, you're always looking for the next way to kind of level up or improve it, make it better, if you're just excited yourself about it. So that's definitely the way that this has evolved for France and I. And with a nod to the public speaking thing that you just said, I just have to share too, because I've had the opportunity and I've been very blessed to have spoken at a handful of ABA conferences and in some different locations. And Josh, just like you're saying, first one, I was so prepared, I thought so. And I was speaking with a couple of my colleagues and I went up there and I know words came out of my mouth and I know that the time passed, but we stopped and I remember going, I think I blacked out that whole time. I don't even know what I said. It was just, I was up there. Public speaking is a skill, just like everything else. And the more you practice and the more opportunity you have to engage in the skill, the better you get at it and the easier it becomes. So to your point, if anyone out there is having a hard time, just don't give up. It is the number one fear among most humans over falling and dying. Public speaking takes number one, which is really fascinating, but here we are.
Yeah. And then now I enjoy it. It's weird. It flips. Once you realize that it's not as scary as you think it is, it becomes enjoyable.
So with all of that said, we do have a really cool speaker lineup. So without further ado, our keynote speaker is Dr. Paul Gavoni. He goes by Polly, but he is just a phenomenal speaker. He is a multiple-time best-selling author. He also is a trainer. He trains boxers and he would explain it much better than myself. I'm sorry, Polly, if you hear this. But
on social media, does it go by Polly? Does it go by Polly Gloves? Is that
Polly Gloves? Yeah.
Okay? That the gloves part makes sense now. Okay.
Yep, that's him.
Okay.
So Polly is going to be joining us. He'll be our keynote. He'll be joining us in our panel presentation, and he's going to be doing a talk called "Stop Surviving, Start Leading: The Functional Approach of Behavioral Leadership." And he does a lot of leadership and supervision type content. He has some phenomenal, as I mentioned, his books are great. And he is really well known for that content in our field. He's got a really strong OBM background. So we're really excited to have him come to the table. In fact, one of the things that France and I felt very strongly about when we started thinking about speakers is that we didn't want to go too hard in any one particular content direction. We didn't want this to just be about autism, for it to just to be about supervision or just one thing. We really wanted to kind of hit the gamut for a couple of reasons. One is we recognize that people who might be burning out coming to this conference might need to hear some very different avenues that they could take their science. If people are thinking about leaving, or they just need to refresh a little bit, they might need to hear a lot of different perspectives. And we wanted also to be able to hit something interesting for all of our audience members. This isn't just seasoned BCBAs. We have green BCBAs, we have RBTs, we have business owners. We really have the gamut of individuals who work in the ABA field. So we wanted to make sure that there was really something for everyone. And I think we've hit it, but it'll be great to get some feedback after the cruise. But after Polly, we have Matt Sikoria. You might know his name because he is the podcast host of the Behavioral Observations podcast. He just had his, I think it was his 10 or 15 year anniversary. He has hundreds of episodes at this point. He has brought some of the most amazing content and amazing speakers to his podcast. I think he has over 60 continuing education credits available on his podcast alone. So he's doing a lot of work to disseminate the science and really make it accessible for people. And I think he's done some really phenomenal work in our field and connecting people. He's really good at bringing people together and, hey, I did a podcast with this person, but you're also interested in that content. I really should connect you guys. So he's been a force for the field as well, which has been really awesome. Next, we have an old colleague of mine. Her name is Brittany Dugway. And Britt has an extensive background in behavior analysis in schools and in clinical settings. But within the last year, I believe, she started her own company. And she is a bikini pro. And I don't remember, I should have the exact title in front of me, but she's an incredible trainer in the fitness and wellness platform. And when she used to do personal training with people, she started to notice that no matter how hard people were trying to stick to a plan or a regimen, something was always falling short for them. And she really recognized some gaps and some holes in a lot of the programs that were out there. So she decided, what's the best thing to do? Do an ABA overlay to the fitness and wellness arena. And so she has found a way to work with people using the behavioral science to help them really change their habits and their behavior. So as much as she's trying to help people understand how to structure their eating habits and tracking and working out, it's really more of a behavior change program that she's running. It's really all about understanding the why behind the things that you do, the choices you make, and how to change your habits that surround your health and fitness goals. So Britt is a powerhouse. She's awesome. She's super excited to be coming. I know she's going to be doing some fun giveaways. So it'll be great to have her as well. No one's going to want to be next to her in a bikini, though. I'm just going to put that out there. At least I won't. Next, we have Colin Guare. So Colin co-wrote a couple of books with his father, Richard Guare, and then their co-author, Peg Dawson. So for those who are listening, you might be familiar with their writings if you've looked into content on executive functioning. They wrote a series of books called Smart and Scattered, and all about how to work with individuals who struggle with executive functioning skills. So they've done a lot of really great pioneering research and writing around that topic. And these days, Colin's doing a lot of consultation in the Massachusetts area, but he also is super fired up about motivational interviewing. And so when he speaks, he's going to really be bringing a combination of some information about executive functioning, which somehow seems to still kind of be taboo for behavior analysts when it comes to consult and knowing what to recommend for individuals with challenges in that area. But he also is going to be talking a lot about motivational interviewing and how that can really support behavior analysts in the field. And then we have Alyssa Robbins and Kristen Nelson. These are two younger behavior analysts who have recently started their own podcast called Cozy Couch Contingencies. Very cute name. And the two of them get together, they cozy up on a couch And they talk just about the science in a really real human layman's terms sort of a way. They're trying to just make it very palatable for anyone and everyone out there. So I've noticed so far that they have behavior analysts as listeners, but they are also getting people outside of the field. They're getting parents. So I think people are really just appreciating the way that they're able to bring a very humble point of view to the science. And their presentation is going to be kind of a highlight reel. It's going to be a bit of a panel presentation. I'm actually going to moderate for them. And they're going to bring some of their most popular content highlights to the audience so that they can really just provide some great examples of some of the things that I think are hot topics in our field right now. And then finally, myself and an old colleague and friend of mine, Kim Heald, we're going to be doing a 3-hour workshop on the behavior analysis of trust. So we're going to do a deep dive into what trust is. Is it like a mentalistic construct? Is it actually a set of behaviors that we can analyze? The research behind that, and then how, if trust is truly a behavior, that means that we can program for it, we can learn it, we can observe for it, we can identify barriers to trusting relationships. So we're really excited about that content. We feel that this is very timely because I don't think that it's a mystery that there's been some challenging buzz about the field of ABA and people trusting our science with their children and their needs. So trust is something that we felt was a really timely topic. And then last but not least is our person who's, this whole thing was her brainchild, is France, of course. France is, of course, a BCBA, but also she's our travel agent and she's a certified autism travel professional. France feels incredibly passionate about making sure that travel is accessible for families with individuals with disabilities and autism, and not just making sure it's accessible, but that it's joyful, right? I think any of us can get a family on a plane. Any of us can say, hey, like, trust us, it'll be great, right? Take them to Disney World, it'll be great, they said, right? But how can you plan these things and make sure that they have everything at their fingertips? They've had the information, the accessibility, the outside of the box thinking that maybe behavior analysts can support these families with, so that they feel confident and competent to go on these trips with their families and create lasting memories and leave some of the stress and anxiety behind about it, because it should be joyful, right? I think that there's this really wonderful thing about bringing joy to these opportunities. And as a field, we've been looking more at focusing on joy and focusing on assent and focusing on allowing people to have the experiences that are meaningful to them. And so I think that would look different for every family with a child with autism. What's their joy and what is important to them is going to be different than what is a good fit for another family. And so it's got to be a highly individualized experience. And so I think Franz is going to really bring all of those highlights and information to light for all of the people out there who want to support families in that area. So yeah, we have a lot of really interesting topics. I'm super excited to go and speak, but I'm also really excited to go learn.
Yeah, I remember one of our first live streams that we did was with a guy named Edward Amosquita. If you ever heard of him before, he works for John Deere now doing user experience research, but he used to be an RBT, but he got burnt out and that's why he left the field, but he used those same skills at John Deere. And since then, we've talked to a lot of people about burnout, and they pointed out that it's not just the RBTs and BCBAs that get burnt out, like the families can get burnt out, the kiddos can get burnt out. So I think that it's really important what you're doing with the travel stuff to help them set up travel opportunities where it's not a nightmare, where, you know, that they can actually enjoy it when they go travel. So how would somebody get involved as far as like the event? Because I know we talked about the speakers, but I also wanted to make sure that we covered how like maybe, you know, one of the software providers or a billing company or something like that could get involved in ABA Con.
There's always
I think this blends nicely too in a couple different areas, but like I wanted to circle back to the burnout. You know, companies first can get involved by giving this opportunity to some of their workers, right? Some of their shining BCBAs, RBTs, really giving back that reward, that positive reinforcement, and going, hey, you know what? You need your CEUs. A lot of companies provide CEUs for their employees. hey, guess what? You've had stellar reviews. We would like for you to go on this cruise, network, go get your CEUs, come back refreshed, right? That's one of the first steps. The other thing I wanted to just say, Alyssa, you did such a great job just explaining everything and the point of view in the diversity we're creating. It is important because it was heartbreaking, like, for me to be at this point, like, not wanting to even go anywhere in the field. And much like Alyssa, it's like, I love these kids. I love these schools. I love these families. And, like, how sad is it? So that by providing these opportunities and these new views, like, even like Brittany, I'm just like, wow, she's taking applied behavior analysis, of course, and applying it to behavior change for our own problems, health problems, addictions, things like that. So I really love that aspect. Another way we can get people involved is we're looking for sponsorship. I have agency owners who are signed up, some who aren't VCBAs, but actually just own an agency, and they are bringing their VCBAs, and they're looking for software companies. They're looking for new platforms. Do you have a product that is going to help families or agencies and you'd like to get it some visibility? We are happy to have you as a sponsor and put you out there on during the event. We have different levels of sponsorship, and you can contact us and we can go over what those different levels include, such as being on the lanyard. Alyssa had mentioned the networking part. We felt so strongly about it. We have an opportunity. We have a cabana reserved at the Hideout Cabana at the Hideaway Beach Club, where we're doing a raffle, and a few select attendees will be able to hang out with all the speakers in this private cabana at the adults only pool area. Really, we want that networking to happen so that you're inspired, so that you're refreshed. And so that if you are feeling that burnout, you can talk to somebody who's like, no, wait, hey, hold on here. Here are some new things you can do, or come back and apply. Like for Alyssa, it was change, so you can get involved in that way.
On the website. So that's the first thing if people are interested, but also France and I will meet with anyone who's interested, wants to know more. We are interested also in individualizing. If people have ideas or something they think would really fit and feel like a good match for their company, we're willing to have those conversations. And on our sponsorship package, as France mentioned, we do have the tiered levels, but then there's also a whole list of just events that companies can choose to sponsor if they want to buy drink package and Wi-Fi for a handful of people, or they want to send someone to go swim with the pigs. So there's all different opportunities. So if you're a small ABA company, a large one, you want to get your name out there, you want to be involved with something that's really dynamic and new and interesting, this is like a really great opportunity for that. And it can be very individualized.
If you want to join, you can go to www.goabacon.com to learn more about it. You can go to the events tab and go register through there. We're also going to have a QR code up if you register this week. Registration closes the 15th. A lot of people have been asking about it, and so this is our moment to get the word out. If you go to this QR code, it's going to bring you directly to the registration page. When you're registering, click on ABA Impact, that this is where you saw us, and just write that you heard us through ABA Impact or as the registration code, and we will give you $50 off of the ABA Con registration fee. And at goabacon.com, you can find out more about the event, future events. Like Alyssa was saying, we also are providing for, again, this is how companies can get involved. If you want to do a company retreat where you're doing individualized CEUs or a team building experience, ABA Con also has that available to companies. So, our push is to ignite, excite all of the ABA providers out there, educate them in the different ways that they can apply behavior analysis, and really prevent that burnout.
You do raffles and giveaways and things that are going to be happening too. So I think it's going to be just there's going to be something always going on, I think. So there's just so much benefit that can come from attending. So yeah, we just really encourage people to check it out.
So we've got a lot of opportunities coming your way, and we're excited about it, and we hope you join us because we're getting out the gate with a bang. So thanks to Alyssa and all the speakers she has provided or put together. So I really appreciate that.
And everyone should go check this out. One thing that I've learned from going to conferences in our own industry is, don't underestimate that 5 minutes you might get with somebody, whether it's somebody who's been in the industry, been in your shoes for a couple decades, or maybe it's one of the keynote speakers. Some of the best conversations and career changing conversations I've had were at conferences with people who have been in my position just longer. And we've even seen that on a smaller scale during our Thursday Night Live calls that we do through the Odyssey program, where it's not even us giving them advice, is we're just kind of sitting back and watching the BCBA that it's starting their own business, and they're asking advice from somebody who has 2 locations, 30, 40 employees, and seeing that interaction, like, sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, and they just kind of come up when you have those conversations with people, and it might spark something or inspire you. Going to these conferences, being around other people who are on the same path or maybe further down the path than you, but super valuable. So yeah, thank you both for joining today and telling us about ABA Cons. I know we're kind of on a time crunch to get people to register for this and support it.
We really appreciate that. And I do want to kind of put out there to the listeners, that we are on a time crunch. We only have so many cabins left, and registration is closing the 15th. Oh, you can bring your family. You can bring friends. So just if it's more than 2 people in a cabin, just email us directly. We'll quote you out for more people in a cabin or multiple cabins. This is not just about you going, bring your husband, your wife, and have a great time. And yeah, time's running out. Don't miss this boat, because it's going to be amazing. And thank you, Josh. Thank you so much for supporting us and giving us this opportunity to reach all your listeners as well.
Awesome.
Josh, this was tremendous. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. We need more people that are doing things like this in the community. So yeah, hopefully we can get some more people involved in this so they can grow and, keep the conversation going for the future events.
Thank you.
Thank you both for joining, and I look forward to the next one.
Thank
Sounds
you.
great. Thank you, Josh.
Yep. See you.
All right, bye, France.
Bye.
You're already doing the work, investing your time, your energy, and your vision. So let's make it count. Build something that works without breaking you. The EBCBA Blueprint is the way. Get started for free with our foundation course.